So today's video is going to be a little bit different than usual. I'm still going to have a light tournament playing in the background, but in today's video we're going to be talking about my top 10 things I think the finals needs to do going into season 2. Now I want to be very clear, this list is just purely my opinion. I have no idea what's actually coming in season 2, and I'm not saying that these changes would for sure improve the game. This is, again, I just want to make it very clear, only my opinion on the top 10 things they should change going into season 2. So for this top 10 list, I'm going to be going from the least important to the most important, again, in my opinion, for what should be done in season 2. So make sure to stick around till the end to see the final couple changes I think need to be made. Without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so for number 10, and this is going to be a bit of an obvious one, but I have to make sure I include it in my list, and that's new maps and new modes. I think it's a no-brainer that when you play the same 3 maps over and over and over again, it gets a little boring, gets a little repetitive. So getting some new maps in the map pool would just be awesome. And I really think new modes is actually really important. I think having just team deathmatch type modes or just free-for-all type modes, kind of like Bank It, but a little bit less objective based, and just where you can go in, warm up, stuff like that would be so awesome to have. I think this is super important because there's other games out there like Apex, for example, where I've gotten on and I've just played team deathmatch all day and never even touched the battle royale mode or ranked or anything like that. So having these other modes that you can just hop on and like aim train and just hang out, I think would be really important. Number 9, this is going to be another kind of obvious one, but we got to get these out of the way early in the list, and that's going to be new weapons, gadgets, and specializations. Again, like I said, a bit of an obvious one, but it is so important to have something fresh to play with. I'll kind of dig into this whole meta thing later into the video. I'm going to touch on that again, but I've been using the XP54, it feels like, for months at this point. And so just getting a new weapon that is solid and just changes up how the game feels completely. And I think we need at least 1 to 2 new weapons on almost every class in order for there to be enough variation. Same with gadgets, same with specializations, at least 1 new specialization per class, just so the game feels fresh. Now, number 8, this is kind of tying into the new modes, but I would love to see different squad size options across the board, whether it be solo free-for-all modes or just in general ranked or tournaments, being able to play as a duo or a trio or even a quad would be awesome. I think this is just super important because how many times you get on maybe with just one buddy of yours and you just want to play duos, but then you get stuck with a random Phil who doesn't know what they're doing or is maybe being toxic, and it just ruins the whole game. Where if you could just hop into a tournament in a duo playlist and maybe instead of 4 teams, there's 6 on the map or just something like that, it would be so nice to play as a duo with no random fills. And I think that would just be fun in general, having more teams with less players on them. I think duos would be really cool, but just having a lot more options for, like I said, duos, trios, quads, even solos with some modes. So for number 7 on this list, this is a bit more of a competitive-minded one, but I would love to see in-game tournaments similar to that of like Fortnite, for example, where they have their weekly cash cups. I think that would be so cool in the finals. It would give people a lot more incentive to grind because you would want to get prepared, maybe find some buddies that'll do the tournament with you, practice throughout the week, and then maybe come Friday night, we have a cash cup, and it'd be so fun to actually compete for like money, like cash prizes and stuff, and would really start to kind of build that competitive scene for, who knows, maybe an esports scene one day. But it would definitely start to, you know, go beyond ranked and actually allow players to prove themselves as well. Now, number 6 here is kind of going to tie into that competitive scene a little bit more, and that's going to be in-game leaderboards for specific classes. It's kind of similar to Overwatch here, where you can go ahead and separate by character the top ranked players. I would love to have, you know, an overall rank leaderboard, but then a rank leaderboard for people playing light. So it tracks only your light ranked points, and that's that leaderboard. And then one for medium and then one for heavy. This way, you know, right now, obviously with how the meta is, the leaderboard is pretty much all medium and heavy players. It's really hard for light players to compete right now. And you're kind of throwing if at the top level you're playing light and ranked. So I would love to see separate leaderboards so people could kind of grind their own class and show, okay, I really am the #1 light, or I am the #1 medium, because right now it's all mixed together. Again, a little bit of a competitive-minded one, but that's something I would love to see. So number 5 here on the list, this is the final competitive one, and then the next 4 are some of the most critical and important things that I think need to change going into Season 2. But for number 5, this is going to be a ranked matchmaking fix and a class-based queue. So let me just explain what I mean by that. Basically, I would like to see the rank matchmaking way more strict. I know they said they updated it earlier in the Season 1, but I would love to see it even more strict. I really want to feel that if I'm a silver player, let's say, I'm getting queued up with other silver players. And if I'm a diamond player, I want to be playing with other diamond players so that it actually feels like, okay, as we're ranking up here, it's going to get tougher, but it's going to increase that challenge, which seems like a bad thing at first, but increasing the challenge makes the game more fun. You would say, okay, well, the lobbies are going to get sweatier, that'll be less fun, but it's really the opposite, because when you're met with a challenge that you're able to try and overcome because you're at that same skill level because you're a silver player and you're going up against other silver players, that's really when the game is going to be at its maximum fun. So I really think that would be a great change. And then the other part of what I was saying with a class lock and a class-based queue would be just an idea, maybe for ranked, every team is going to be made up of a heavy, a medium, and a light. And when you queue up as a class, and it puts you with other players that queue up as a heavy, a medium, and then let's say I would queue up as a light, I would be the light on that team. If you queue up with a buddy, let's say, you guys would have to play, let's say, a light and a medium, and then it would fill you with a heavy. I think this would be really interesting. Again, this is not something I think needs to happen per se, but I think this would be really interesting to see how it plays out with everybody having a heavy, a medium, and light. I think it would get rid of that, like, annoying where you face, like, let's say 3 heavies, and it's just like you're getting spammed with C4, dome shields, and it's just really annoying to play against. It would make it more of a standard, okay, I know what I'm going to be going up against. And also would get rid of that mindset a lot of people have where if I queue up and I play light, people just think I'm throwing the game or griefing because light's so weak right now. It would be like, okay, we're going to have a light, a medium, and a heavy. I get to queue up as what I want to play, so I'm not forced to play something I don't want to. I don't know, I just overall think that'd be a really cool change for just like rank specifically. Okay, so now the top 4 things. These are ones that I'm going to cover a little bit more in depth than the first 6 because I think they're the most important. And starting off with number 4, it's going to be more variety in meta throughout Season 2. I think that one of the biggest struggles Season 1 had for the finals was that the meta from the day the game came out till right now felt really, really similar. Now, I know there was a recon sense change somewhere in there, and that did help a bit, but I just think overall it felt like if you were playing light, you were playing with the XP54, the stun gun. If you were playing medium, you had an FCAR with the jump pad and the defib. Heavy had the Lewis gun with the dome shield and the mesh shield. And yes, you could try other things for sure, but for the most part, if you were playing ranked and you wanted to play with the best possible loadout, you pretty much use the same thing from day 1 till now. I just think that's a huge problem. I think what made some games in the past so successful, I'm going to just take Prime Fortnite, for example. If you didn't get to experience that, I'm sorry, because it was literally probably the greatest time in gaming history, at least for me personally. We had updates every week with map changes, new game-changing items, huge weapon changes, nerfs, buffs, and every week the game felt like a whole new game. It felt so fresh. I'm not saying that they need to do that. I know that's near impossible to replicate. That was a crazy time in gaming. But if we could even get a little bit of that, maybe once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, of big changes or game-changing items being added, instead of having the same meta throughout the whole season, I think that would make a huge difference. It could be something as simple as, okay, the FCAR is being used by 80% of players. Like, if they have data on stuff like that, let's just hit it with a hard nerf so that they have to use anything else but the FCAR. And then you see, okay, well, people are going to be like, all right, we'll try out the AK, and we'll try out the revolver. And I think that's super healthy for the game. And then maybe you slowly buff the FCAR back into being in a nice balanced spot. But when things are so used, like the FCAR, the XP54, all these different things, let's just absolutely nerf things and then absolutely buff things, make things broken. just have some more variety and allow people to get a chance to try other things throughout the season, so it doesn't just feel like using the same loadout for like 3 months straight. And I want to make it very clear as I'm saying these things, this is no shot at the devs of this game. They're absolutely incredible. They've done an amazing job. And this is just purely like my opinion and thoughts I've had throughout the season on things that I could think make it better. But I want to be very clear. I think they've done an incredible job in Season 1. I'm super excited for Season 2. And I think they're going to absolutely crush it. So number 3, and this kind of ties into number 4 a bit, but more specifically, my opinion on the buffs and nerfs going into Season 2. I know this is going to sound biased because I'm a light main, but I think it's pretty well known at this point that heavy and medium are way stronger than light. Light definitely needs a buff. Again, I know it sounds biased, but I think it's just common knowledge at this point that light is heavily weaker than the other 2 classes. And I definitely think heavy is even more OP than medium right now. I think the 350 health is so much, and they can deal the same amount of damage as other classes. The amount of shields and blocking power they have, plus the C4. Yeah, I mean, heavies are super strong right now. I don't have the answers, and I don't want to act like I do, but I do think that if they could find a way to bring the 3 classes more in line with each other, specifically buff light, nerf heavy, and maybe literally have medium's current power be like the standard for all 3 classes, I think that would be absolutely amazing. I think maybe having light be kind of like a glass cannon type of thing where you can deal a ton of damage even though you have super, weak HP, so you're going to die quick. Where heavy would be like the opposite. You can tank a lot and use your shields to help your teammates, but your weapons are going to not deal as much damage because you have that extra HP. You're more of a support character. I really feel like that's more how it should be balanced versus right now it feels like heavy kind of deals damage and is a tank, and light doesn't deal damage and is made of glass. So yeah, I just love to see those meta changes maybe going into Season 2. So number 2 and number 1, I think, are by far the most important changes that I would love to see. And number 2 is going to be a complete rework on explosives. I know this is very unlikely to happen, but I just think that in a game like this, if your damage you deal to other players was done 90% by the weapon in your hands versus 90% by the utility you can throw, I think it would be way more fun. I think the destruction in this game is incredible. It's what separates the finals from other FPSs and makes the game so unique. And that should not be changed at all. The explosive damage to buildings and objects around you should stay exactly the same. And I don't even know if this is possible from a game dev perspective. I have no idea. I'm completely uneducated on it. But if it is possible to leave that the same, but change the damage value to players specifically way down, I think that would be awesome. Imagine if the C4 had the same damage to buildings and stuff like that, but when it hit a player it only did like 30 damage, let's say. It would still have value because 30 damage is still like a nice opener, and you can still drop down cash outs and do stuff like that. But it's not like I'm getting hit with 2 C4s as a light player and I just don't even get to play the game because I die instantly. I think right now that's just such a frustrating part of the game. And if they could completely rework and change how explosives work more towards what I'm saying, I think it would make the game way more competitive, way more fun, and just would overall be a really awesome change to see. Now, the number 1 change I would love to see going into Season 2 of the finals, and this is one that probably most of you have heard already, and you probably were waiting for in this video, and that's the addition of custom games. Custom games would be so massive for such a wide variety of player, really. You could have casual players who want to just hop on, go in a custom game with some friends and have a good time, to competitive players who want to set up scrims and practice hardcore gameplay against one another to get ready for maybe future tournaments. And finally, for content creators like myself, it would be the greatest thing in the world because the amount of opportunities for ideas that I already have in my head that we could do with custom games, from community lobbies to stuff like me trying to 1v3 a lobby full of silvers, golds. I'm sure you've seen videos like that before, but doing stuff like that for the finals would be incredible. I mean, it literally goes on and on. I think the content opportunity, especially just speaking for myself, would go through the roof with custom lobbies. It would just take the current opportunity that the game has and literally double it just with one change. because when you can hop into a private lobby with friends, like the good old days of gaming, and literally do whatever you want, come up with whatever you want, test things out, like I said, that's just going to be absolutely massive if they do that. I know it's probably the #1 thing most people want. It's the #1 thing I'm hoping for as well. So yeah, custom lobbies definitely my #1 thing I'm hoping to see in Season 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a completely different style than my normal video, so I know it's a little different. And also, please in the comments, let me know what you think of my top 10 list, and also let me know your top changes that you're hoping to see when Season 2 drops in just a couple days. I'm super hyped for the drop of Season 2. We're going to be pumping out a bunch of content for you guys. I appreciate all the love and support. I'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, have an amazing rest of your guys' day. Peace.